Hi, in this tip we're going to show you how to install Windows 10 on your computer. This will be a new installation and not an upgrade. So what we have here is we have Oracle VirtualBox. This is a virtualization program, so it just makes it easier for me to show you how it's doing so I could record it rather than trying to find a way to record while I'm booting up the computer. So what I did is I just created a Windows 10 VM here, and there's nothing installed on it. We actually have a video and a page on how to download and use this for yourself. So once you stick in either your bootable CD, actually DVD, or flash drive, you'll restart your computer, and you'll want to make sure you either go into the BIOS, or if you know what key you press to pick the boot device, because obviously you're not going to boot off the hard drive because there's either nothing on it or you have an older version of Windows which you're going to be getting rid of. And so in our case we're going to boot from our ISO version here of our software, so we don't actually have a CD in there, so we're just going to continue booting there, and it's going to load the Windows files, and this will actually be pretty quick since it's running on a VM. So once you get that, it goes to your first Windows setup screen here, so you pick your language and your time format and keyboard format, and next. And then all you have to do is click on the Install Now button and wait for setup to start doing its thing here, setting up its files. And now if you have your product key, this is where you would type it in. Or in our case, we're not going to type it in, we're just going to say I don't have a product key. And you'll only be able to use Windows for a certain amount of time if you don't have the product key. And so here, depending on which CD you have, or if you're booting off the ISO, you might or might not see this screen. If you just have your one DVD and it's only Windows 10 Home, and that's all you're going to get. So in our case, we have a multi-version ISO file here that we got from Microsoft. So we're going to install the Pro version just for fun. So click on Next. And then accept the agreement. You could read it if you want, but nobody does that. Okay, now here's where you have to pay attention. So if you already have a version of Windows like Windows 7, you could do this upgrade path to upgrade it. But in our case, we are just doing clean installation on a blank drive, so we're going to do a custom. And so now it's going to show you what drives you have on your computer, hard drives. So if you only have one, only one's going to pop up. In our case, we have two. This is a data drive. And so you need to know which hard drive is the one you want to install it on before you get to this section here. Otherwise, you might overwrite all your data installed on the wrong drive. So if you know the size beforehand, you could go by that way. So we know that this is going to be our C drive, so we're going to pick that. And options here, we could either manually do a new partition on it, and you could pick, if you don't want to do the whole size, you could do that, or in our case it'll be the whole thing since that's what it does by the default. Or if you just do next, it's going to use all the space on it anyways. So just for fun, we'll do this, and we'll say, okay, we're going to do the full size partition here, apply. And then what Windows will do is it'll create a secondary partition for its own system files. And you can see right there, 500 megabytes, that's what it just made, but you'll never need to do anything with that, so don't worry about it. And another thing you do, you could go next and it'll automatically format it, or if you want to do everything manually, you could format it from here. And that's just warning you there might be stuff on it, so to be careful. We're going to say OK. So now our drive's formatted, and that's our primary drive, so we just click on Next. And then it's going to go through and copy all the files and install all the updates and all the features. So we'll pause the video while that's going on. Okay, as you can see here, it's finished, and now it's going to reboot the VM. Or in your case, it'll be rebooting your computer. Okay, now we're starting Windows for the first time here. Alright, now you can see we're getting a little closer here to Windows. The first time after you install is going to be a lot longer than any restarts after that, because it's got to do all the rest of its configuration before it actually lets you to your desktop.
Hi there, I'm
And now you'll see
Cortana,
the
and I'm here to help.
Cortana welcome screen.
A little sign in here, a touch of Wi-Fi there, and we'll have your PC ready for all you plan to do.
Enter. Okay, so now we just kind of pick our location here. We're going to say United States. Keyboard layout. And then we don't want a second keyboard layout. Now they're going to check for some updates. This might take a little while. Okay, so now it's rebooting again after the updates. Okay, so now we're going to get to the setup screen here. So depending on what you're doing, you're most likely doing setting it up for personal use. So we'll click there. And next. Okay, so this is important here. So you could either sign in with your Microsoft account or you could create a local account. Seems like people, when they do their Microsoft account, signing in with email, if they ever change the password on their email account and they don't remember their last one, then they have trouble getting into their computer and it turns out to be a mess. So we're going to go with an offline account, which is like a local account, like like you normally do with Windows. Okay, we're going to skip the Microsoft account here. But you could do the Microsoft email account if that's what you'd rather do. So we're going to say this is Bob. And then a password for Bob. Okay. Password hint, the usual. That's good enough for that. So yeah, the password hint is something you'd want to put down that'll kind of jog your memory to what your password is. And then here's for Cortana, which is like Siri for iPhones. If you're doing this on a desktop, you're probably not going to have much use for the audio part here, because you're just not going to be able to hear you say, "Hey Cortana." So we're going to say no to that, otherwise it'll bother us for everything. Now this is important too. Microsoft puts all these privacy settings here, so they want to, see where you are and see what's going on with your computer and put ads on there and listen to what you're doing and blah blah blah. So I always turn all this stuff off. And we also have a video on changing these privacy settings after you get into Windows, because there's a lot more of them that don't even show up here. So we're going to say accept after we turn those off. And then this is the last step, or so they say. Okay, now we're signing in with Bob. And once again, a few more things before we get to the desktop. Okay, so now we're actually on our desktop here. And it found my local network connection, so I'm going to say yes to that. So we get ourselves on the internet. And you have your Cortana box down there, which if you don't want to see, you could right-click your taskbar, Cortana, either hide it or show the icon. If you show the icon, that way you can still search for things down there. And now we have Windows up and running, so you could start installing your software and do any more updates and all that good stuff. So like I said, we'll have the link for the Oracle VirtualBox, so if you want to play around with installing Windows 10 on a VM before you do it on your own, you could do that, and also how to change the settings and all that other good stuff. Alright, thanks for watching.